I'm the only daughter of the Bennett family. We're not billionaires, but we're definitely well off. My dad, Robert Bennett, was always worried I'd grow up lonely, so he adopted 6 orphans to raise alongside me. They were trained in both brains and brawn, officially labeled as my bodyguards, but in truth, they were also my childhood crushes. But they all knew I was in love with Ethan Carter and planned to marry him. On our honeymoon, Ethan insisted on bringing along Vanessa Collins, a poor girl from the mountains I had personally sponsored for years. They kissed on the cruise ship like I didn't exist, completely forgetting I was still stranded on the uninhabited island waiting to board. I was mauled by wild beasts, my body rotted in the jungle, and the vultures took care of what was left. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back into Mito the day I chose my husband. This time, I didn't choose Ethan. I chose Daniel Ross, the one my father liked the least. When he found out, my father looked stunned. "Claire, are you sure you want to marry Daniel? If this is about being mad at Ethan, think it over again." He repeated what he always said, that he brought the 6 orphans in so I'd never feel alone. Daniel had lost both parents in an earthquake and was taken in by my father. Dad allowed them all to keep their own surnames and choose their paths freely. Daniel just happened to become a pilot in the Air Force. In my previous life, after I died, I saw his helicopter flying toward that island, clutching my necklace, screaming my name like a madman. His voice cracked as he cried. I was too late. Back in this moment, I didn't even hesitate. "I'm choosing Daniel," I said firmly. My father sighed, muttering that Daniel didn't have the head for business and couldn't handle big responsibilities. Still, he gave in. "But his health is solid at least. He can take care of you." Outside the villa, Ethan was tutoring Vanessa, a gentle frown on his face paired with a smile on his lips. "How did you even miss such an easy question?" Vanessa pouted and leaned in with a giggle. "Ethan, you're adorable when you're mad." When she noticed me, she grabbed my arm. "Claire, no wonder you're into him. He's smart, charming, and handsome. I wish I could marry someone like Ethan." Ethan's smile disappeared instantly. He turned and walked off, mumbling something. But as he passed her, I caught the look they exchanged. Ethan hated when people teased that I liked him, but here he was, flirting openly with Vanessa. Later, I overheard him whispering to Aunt Linda while she prepped dinner, "Make that extra spicy chicken tonight. Vanessa loves spicy food." Vanessa, this poor student from the mountains, was a few years younger than me. I'd covered her living expenses for years. After college entrance exams, she insisted on attending university in my city and visited me every major holiday. Now I realized she just wanted to be close to Ethan. During dinner, my dad got a call and had to leave for a long overseas business trip. Before leaving, he told me if I couldn't wait, I could go ahead with the wedding. At dinner, Ethan personally served the spicy chicken to Vanessa. His gaze held a tenderness I had never seen before. "Vanessa, you look so skinny. Is Claire not giving you enough living expenses? Eat more." I used to brush it off, thinking they were just from the same hometown, maybe shared the same taste. But Ethan never once cared what I liked to eat. Thinking of my past life and how miserably it ended, I couldn't bear it anymore. I looked at the spicy chicken and said flatly, "Aunt Linda, I have a cold. The smell is too strong. Please take it away." She hesitated, clearly conflicted. Master Ethan made that dish." I let out a cold laugh. "Aunt Linda, this is the Bennett house. Since when does Ethan make the decisions here?" She quickly stepped forward to clear the dish, but Ethan reached out and stopped her, his face darkening. "Claire, what the hell is wrong with you? I just wanted Vanessa to taste something from my hometown." "I'm just not in the mood," I said, putting down my chopsticks. "Is that a crime?" Vanessa jumped in, her voice trembling like she might cry. "Claire, Ethan, please stop arguing. It's just a dish. I don't even want to eat it." Looking at her teary-eyed expression, I was so close to slamming the table. In my last life, she'd always used those innocent puppy dog eyes to manipulate me. "Claire, I didn't mean it," she'd say, and I'd fall for it every single time, thinking she was just a naive, sweet girl. Ethan's expression turned icy. He looked at me like I was some hysterical drama queen. Not a single one of my childhood friends spoke up for me. They just sat there in silence, eyes avoiding mine. In my last life, they were the same. When I brought Vanessa on our honeymoon and felt hurt, they made excuses. Claire, Vanessa's never been abroad. Let her experience the world. You're the Bennett heiress, have some grace. No one ever cared about my feelings. To them, Vanessa was family. She didn't need to avoid suspicion. She didn't need to be put in her place. I let out a bitter laugh and said coldly, "If you're going to keep bickering, just stop eating." Seeing my expression, Aunt Linda hurried to clear the plates, even dropping a chopstick in her rush. But Ethan just carried on as if nothing had happened. He picked up a piece of sweet and sour fish and gently placed it in Vanessa's bowl. "This one's your favorite, right? Eat it while it's hot." It made me sick. I didn't want to watch their pathetic love show anymore. "You all enjoy your dinner." With that, I turned and left, climbing the stairs without a glance back. In my room, I pressed my fingers to my temple. The storm of memories from my past life pounded in my head, but I reminded myself this pain wasn't even close to what I had endured before. I sat down at my desk and opened a thick financial analysis textbook. If I was going to marry Daniel and cut ties with Ethan, I needed to be prepared to manage the family business myself. Then came a soft knock at the door. I ignored it, but the door opened anyway. Ethan walked in, holding a cup of warm milk and some cold medicine. He placed it on my desk and softened his voice. "Why didn't you tell me you had a cold?" I looked up at him, saying nothing. Then I reminded him with a faint smile, "I'm lactose intolerant." His expression faltered. Embarrassment flashed in his eyes, but only for a second. Then he acted like it never happened. He glanced at the textbook I was reading and frowned. "Why are you reading this out of nowhere?" I closed the book, looked straight at him, and replied calmly, "Isn't it obvious? I was thinking about helping you manage the business in the future." Ethan looked stunned. Clearly, he didn't expect that from me. I gave him a cold smile, the kind that could freeze a room. "Didn't you always say I was just a spoiled rich girl with nothing to offer but my family name? Fine. I'll learn something." He went quiet, like there was something stuck in his throat, and after what felt like forever, he finally said, "Claire, you've changed." I nodded. "Of course I've changed. I don't like you anymore." Ethan had no idea I was planning to marry Daniel Ross. He lifted his hand like he wanted to touch my head, but before his fingers could reach me, Aunt Linda's panicked voice rang out from downstairs. "Miss, something's wrong." I frowned. "What is it?" Aunt Linda came rushing upstairs, panting. Miss Vanessa broke the vase in the living room. My heart skipped a beat, my fingers froze midair, and my expression turned ice cold. There was only one vase in that living room, the one Ethan made for me on my 20th birthday. Back then, he smiled and said, "You don't need expensive things. What matters is the thought behind them." I had always placed that vase in the most prominent spot, so it was the first thing I'd see whenever I walked through the door. Before I could even respond, Ethan's expression changed drastically. Panic flickered across his eyes as he bolted down the stairs like something had exploded. I followed more slowly, watching from the second-floor landing as chaos unfolded in the living room. Vanessa was crouched beside the broken shards, looking all wide-eyed and innocent. She was murmuring, "I just wanted to move it. I didn't know it was so fragile." As she touched a jagged piece of porcelain, bright red blood oozed from her fingertip. Ethan rushed over and seriously put her bleeding finger in his mouth. He used to do that for me when I scraped my knee as a kid. "My mom taught me," he once said. "It's cleaner this way. Less chance of scarring." But ever since Vanessa came into our lives, everything changed. "Vanessa, it's just a vase," Ethan whispered to her, his voice low and full of that sickening tenderness. "You didn't have to touch it. I feel bad now that you're hurt." Vanessa bit her lip and whispered, "Claire's probably mad. I'll go tell her it's not your fault." I descended the stairs slowly, my heart twisting like someone was stabbing it with needles. Ethan gently grabbed Vanessa's hand. "Your cut is deep. Let's get you upstairs and bandage it." I didn't love Ethan anymore, but that didn't mean this didn't hurt. As they passed me, he said calmly, "She didn't mean to. Don't be mad. I'll make you another vase." I stood my ground. I wasn't about to step aside. "She needs medical attention," he said again, colder this time. "Claire, move." I didn't. So he pushed me hard. I wasn't ready for it, and slammed into the staircase railing. A sharp pain shot through my lower back, but Ethan didn't even glance at me. He just whisked Vanessa away. When I finally got to my feet and headed back upstairs, I heard Vanessa's voice through the crack in Ethan's door. "Ethan, our school's having a sports event soon. I got chosen to hold the sign. Can I borrow Claire's green dress? She looked so pretty in it. I bet I'll look great too." Green? I only had one green dress. It was custom-made by my mom as a gift for my 18th birthday.
She's gone now.
That dress was the last thing she ever gave me.
And Ethan?
Without a second thought, he said, "If you really want it, wear it. Claire won't mind." I went cold. I could barely stand. "Who said I wouldn't mind?" I snapped. Vanessa flinched and spun around, her face pale with panic. "Claire, were you eavesdropping?" I scoffed. "Eavesdropping? Please." The door wasn't even shut. "No," she stammered. "It was closed." "Ethan, she's acting crazy." Ethan stood up, clearly annoyed. "Claire, just lend her the dress. It's for a school event. What's the big deal?" I glared at him. "I won't lend it. It's a keepsake for my mom." "Claire," he growled, voice rising in frustration. "Why are you so stingy now? You didn't used to be like this." I looked him dead in the eye. "I died once, Ethan. You really think I'm still the same girl?" That's when Vanessa suddenly collapsed to her knees with a loud thud. Her forehead hit the floor, and she started sobbing like her world was ending. "Claire, I'm sorry, okay? This is all my fault. You and Ethan shouldn't be fighting." She crawled toward me and grabbed my legs. I tried to pull back, but she used the momentum to fall even harder, her tears streaming down. I said, "I'm sorry. Why won't you forgive me?" Then her voice dropped to a whisper. "I have leukemia. The doctor said I only have 6 months left. I just want to wear a pretty dress one time before I die. That green one is so beautiful. I've wanted to wear it for so long. Just once. Please." Leukemia? In my last life, she was as healthy as an athlete and even won medals. I looked down at her coldly. "If you're really sick, then go to a hospital. Stop using it to gain sympathy." She swayed and collapsed sideways like some tragic heroine. Ethan immediately shouted, "Claire, that's enough." His face was red with rage. "Vanessa is seriously ill. Why are you being so cruel?" I scoffed and opened my mouth to speak, but before I could get a word out, he shoved me aside again, stormed into my room, and ripped the green dress right out of my closet. "She's wearing this, whether you like it or not." He shoved the dress into Vanessa's arms, picked her up bridal style, and headed for the door. Before leaving, he gave me one last venomous look. "If you keep bullying Vanessa like this, I'll never marry you, no matter how much you love me." The next morning, Ethan called. I answered groggily, only to hear his cold voice. "You and Vanessa have the same rare blood type. Come to the hospital for a match test." I blinked, stunned for a second, before saying softly, "No, don't be selfish, Claire," he snapped. "Vanessa got worse after yesterday. The hospital says she needs a stem cell transplant. You're both type AB, Rh negative panda blood. If you won't do it, then who will? If you don't come, who will?" Ethan's voice on the other end was cold and forceful. "But I don't owe her anything," I said through gritted teeth. I was just about to hang up when the door burst open. Several unfamiliar men stepped inside, their expressions robotic and emotionless. "Ms. Bennett, we're under orders from Mr. Carter to escort you to the hospital for treatment." "Who the hell are you?" I snapped, standing up in a mix of shock and fury, taking a step back instinctively. But they didn't bother answering. One grabbed my arm while another quickly pressed a sedative patch to my neck. "Are you insane? Let me go." I screamed, my voice hoarse as I thrashed in panic. Ethan Carter. I shouted into the phone with tears filling my eyes. How dare you send people to drag me away like this? You call that saving someone? His voice stayed cold as steel. Stop being selfish. My vision started to blur. My arms went numb. My legs stopped responding. As I was forced into the car, the sky above looked impossibly bright, like a blade. But my heart was heavier than it had ever been. I used the very last bit of my strength to press the emergency contact button on my smartwatch. When I opened my eyes again, I was still in a hospital room. The first thing I saw was Daniel Ross's face blood at the corner of his mouth. He had clearly just been in a fight. After I was reborn and decided to change my fate, I'd updated my emergency contact to Daniel. I never thought it would end up saving my life this soon. I tried to lift my hand to touch his face, but I couldn't even move my fingers. Don't move, Daniel said instantly, gripping my trembling hand. Claire, they took 600 milliliters of blood from you. You can't move yet. I blinked. 600? My heart dropped like a stone. A normal person should only donate 400 milliliters at most. Ethan Carter actually authorized 600 from Vanessa. If my dad hadn't always encouraged me to exercise and keep up a strong body since I was a kid, I'd probably be dead right now. Does it hurt? Daniel asked softly. I shook my head weakly. His jaw clenched. The veins in his neck stood out in fury. How dare he? And you still care about him that much? He asked, voice shaking. Then, after a long pause, he added in a quiet voice, I'm sorry, Claire. I got here too late. His eyes were bloodshot. My base is far from here. By the time I arrived, they had already drawn your blood. They said it was for a bone marrow transplant. I lost it. I fought him. That's when I noticed his uniform was soaked with sweat, and he hadn't even changed clothes. My throat was dry. My chest ached. In a whisper, I said, Don't call me miss anymore. He looked up, stunned. I held his gaze. Don't you know I chose you? He blinked in confusion. Me? Because you had a fight with Ethan? I shook my head. My voice trembled, but my words were firm.
No.
Not because of Ethan. Not because of the fight. It's because I believe you're worth it. I lifted my smartwatch. You are the one I trusted enough to make my emergency contact. If you're willing, let's get married in a week. His eyes welled with emotion, and I saw his Adam's apple move as he swallowed. I'm willing, he said. Then his phone rang. A harsh voice barked on the other end. Daniel Ross, you had the nerve to leave your base without permission? He sighed, gave me a look, and said calmly into the phone. There was an emergency. My wife needed me. I asked permission from the political commissar, but the paperwork probably hasn't reached you yet. His voice lowered. If there's going to be disciplinary action, I'll accept it. But before that, I need to stay by her side. Wife. That word landed heavily in the room. Whoever was yelling at him clearly didn't expect it. Daniel didn't flinch. After the call, he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. I called you my wife before asking you. I didn't want you to regret it. Before I could say a word, the door swung open and in came Ethan. Wife. What wife? He barked. He walked in casually and slung an arm around Daniel's shoulder like nothing had happened. So this is it, huh? You found yourself a wife behind Claire's back. Daniel's entire body tensed. He threw Ethan's arm off without hesitation. Claire is my wife. And from now on, stay away from her. You touch her again, and I won't go easy on you. Also, our brotherhood ends here. Ethan's face contorted, stunned, speechless. What did you just say? He asked hoarsely. He turned to me, his voice full of disbelief. Claire, you said you were going to marry me. Why did you suddenly change your mind? I met his eyes coldly. I thought about it and changed my mind.
Who are you to me?
Do I owe you an explanation? His face turned red with fury. Are you out of your mind? What did he give you, some kind of love potion? Ethan lunged toward me, but Daniel stepped in front of me in a flash. Try touching her. Just try. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly safe. Ethan stood there, face twisted with a mix of rage and humiliation, but there was nothing he could do. He turned and slammed the door on his way out. From the room next door, I could hear Vanessa's annoying little voice. "Ethan, I heard you drew a lot of blood from Claire. Is she okay?" Ethan's voice was cold and careless. "She's fine. It's just some blood. What's the big deal?" I clenched my fists so tight I could feel the bones press through my skin. Daniel saw it and gently covered my ears with both hands. "Don't listen to trash like that, Claire. Focus on getting better." The next few days, Daniel stayed with me, using his leave to care for me. But I could still hear the constant flirting through the walls. Ethan never came to see me again. He probably thought I was just putting on an act. When Daniel tried to get me discharged, the nurse stopped him. "Ms. Bennett, you still have an operation scheduled. You can't leave yet." I froze. "What operation?" "A bone marrow transplant," she answered. Of course. That's why Ethan had drawn so much blood. We were a rare match. Daniel stepped forward, voice dangerously low. "Whose operation?" The nurse hesitated but flipped through the chart. "Yours, Ms. Bennett. It says here you've already signed and agreed to donate bone marrow to Miss Collins." Mr. Carter arranged the procedure. "Isn't he your fiancé?" she added, confused. Daniel didn't let her finish. "Well, I don't agree to it now." That's when it hit Medho's papers. In the past, whenever I didn't want to sign company forms, I'd just let Ethan do it. Over time, he'd gotten so good at forging my signature, I barely noticed. I bet he faked the donation consent form, too. Daniel stormed out to find the hospital administrator. Before leaving, he squeezed my hand tightly. "Wait here. I'll be right back." 10 minutes later, he returned with the dean and a man who looked very much like a lawyer. "From now on, Ms. Claire Bennett has sole authority over all her medical decisions. Without her verbal and written consent, no procedures may be arranged. Any violation will be considered illegal." The lawyer's tone was icy and precise. Ethan stood at the door, his face dark as a thundercloud. He growled in a low voice, "I don't agree." Then he raised his voice. "Claire, saving a life is more important than anything. Vanessa is seriously ill. You donating bone marrow won't kill you, but if you don't, she will die. So now you're morally blackmailing me?" I shot back through clenched teeth. "You forged my signature, tried to put me on an operating table without my knowledge, and now you're going to stand there and lecture me about being cold-blooded?" I looked straight into his eyes and sneered. "Ethan, I'm not a savior. Vanessa Collins is where she is today because I used my money to help her get out of the mountains. Even if she is sick, I don't owe her anything." Ethan's jaw tensed. He clearly didn't expect me to be this direct. He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. "If you really care that much, take her to another hospital and find out if she's actually sick or not." I grabbed Daniel's hand. "Let's go." Ethan just stood there, frozen, as we walked past him and left him behind. On my wedding day, Daniel Ross was the one waiting for me at the altar. I had chosen the dress months ago. Everything was already planned. My father flew in from overseas the moment he heard about Ethan's betrayal. He made it clear that once the wedding was over, he would make sure Ethan paid the price. I invited all of my childhood companions except Ethan. Just a few months ago, I had been preparing to marry him. But that version of me was long gone. Far away, Ethan's phone buzzed. "Bro, Claire's getting married today. Why aren't you here?" As soon as he got the address, he jumped into a cab. His suit was messy, his collar wrinkled, his face anxious. When he burst into the venue, the MC was already asking, "Bride, do you take this man to be your husband?" "She doesn't." Ethan's voice rang out, jarring the entire crowd. People gasped. Some booed. I ignored him. I kissed Daniel on the lips, turned to the crowd, and said clearly, "I do." Applause exploded. Family and friends on both sides rose and cheered. Their laughter drowned out Ethan's desperate cry. My father waved his hand, signaling for someone to escort Ethan out. He probably never imagined that the woman who had loved him so much would actually marry someone else. After the ceremony, while I was backstage changing into my red toast dress, Ethan slipped into the dressing room. I turned and met his gaze. "Claire," he said, his voice raspy and uneasy, "you're not seriously marrying Daniel, are you?" I stared at him, unmoved. He stepped closer, his tone frantic. "Is this about me caring too much about Vanessa? You know I've always treated her like a sister. I thought you were just marrying Daniel to make me jealous. But now I get it, I am awake, Claire." His voice cracked. "Please don't go through with this." I let out a quiet laugh. It wasn't mocking. It was the kind of laugh you give when you've finally seen someone clearly too clearly. "Ethan, the wedding's already over. And you still don't believe it." "But you said you loved me," he argued. "You picked the wedding dress for me. How could you do this?" "How could I?" I repeated softly. "Okay, then let me ask you. You always picked out food for Vanessa. Do you even remember what I like to eat? You were busy bandaging her finger while I was doubled over with a back injury. You almost drained all my blood just to save her. Do you even know that I don't meet the minimum weight requirement for donation? If Daniel hadn't arrived, I would have died. And Vanessa? She wasn't even sick. I asked you to verify it. Did you? Did you even bother to check?" Ethan stood there speechless. I could see the guilt in his eyes, but it was too late. "You believed her," I said coldly. "But you shouldn't have sacrificed me." His eyes reddened, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Claire, I didn't know. It's too late now, isn't it?" "Yes," I said gently. "Because I'm already married to Daniel." His face flickered with hope. "But you haven't signed the marriage certificate yet, right?" Daniel had been standing outside the whole time. As soon as he heard that, he stepped inside and stood beside me like a shield. "Not yet. But we're about to." He said it loud and clear. Ethan looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. "You can't just sign it like that. You need time. Paperwork. I'll win you back before then." Daniel gave him a cold smirk. "Relax, Mr. Carter. My wife makes her own decisions. I've already submitted my retirement paperwork. You're too late." Ethan stood behind the doorframe, watching as Daniel and I walked away. His heart twisted in pain, but there was nothing he could do. Meanwhile, Vanessa saw our wedding pictures online and panicked. Desperate to get Ethan back, she called him. "Ethan, I'm craving octopus balls. Will you bring some for me?" Silence. She waited, trying to sound cute. "You promised you'd always take care of me. Just this once." Finally, Ethan replied, voice hoarse. "I'm busy." Her heart dropped, but she didn't give up. "Please? Only the ones you buy taste right."
"Fine.
"Wait there." She smiled dreamily, picturing him showing up with her favorite snack and flowers, maybe even proposing like something out of a cheesy manga. But when Ethan arrived at her hospital room, he didn't have any food or smile. Vanessa rushed toward him for a hug, but he grabbed her wrist instead.
Ow.
"Ethan, be gentle. What's going on?" "We're going somewhere," he said curtly. "Where?" she asked, confused but still putting on a playful voice. "Ethan, seriously, it hurts." She assumed he was dragging her to some surprise location for a romantic gesture. But his face was stormy. His jaw was clenched the entire ride. Her smile faded. Then the car pulled up in front of an unfamiliar hospital. "Wait, haven't I already been hospitalized? Why are we here?" "Get out of the car." Her heart skipped. A chill ran through her. "Two don't want to." Ethan got out, opened her door, and yanked her out firmly. "This hospital has better equipment. We're getting a second opinion." Vanessa started to panic. If this hospital ran proper tests, they'd find out she wasn't sick at all. She tried to escape, but Ethan didn't give her the chance not even to use the bathroom. It wasn't until the test results came back that Ethan finally realized the truth: Vanessa wasn't sick at all. Her physical indicators were perfectly normal, not even borderline. That was the moment he finally understood what I had been trying to tell him all along. And all the things he had done, he had really hurt me. He slammed the report into her hands and said coldly, "What the hell is this?" Vanessa scrambled to grab his hand. No, Ethan, please let me explain. I liked you too much. I was afraid Claire would take you away from me. I didn't want to lose you. You don't deserve to say her name." Ethan cut her off, his tone icy. "To get what you wanted, you were willing to gamble your life. You forced Claire into a blood draw, made her do a match test, and even forged medical records. Do you even know how much blood she lost that day? Do you know how she woke up from that coma?" Vanessa broke down sobbing. "I just love you too much. She's not right for you. Only I am." Ethan took a slow step back, shook off her hand, and said, "From today on, there's nothing between us. Nothing at all." Then he returned the green Dress Me mother's final gift to me. After everything, he apologized to my father. And while my father had once raised him and allowed him into the family business, this time he didn't hesitate. Ethan was fired.
Permanently.
I wanted my dad to send a message to the entire Industrito, make sure Ethan never got another opportunity. But my dad just patted my shoulder and said, "Don't corner a desperate man." He advised me to cut off Vanessa's financial support and leave it at that. But Ethan didn't know when to stop. He couldn't understand how a girl from the mountains like Vanessa could have pulled off such a flawless setup, faking medical reports, getting doctors and nurses to play along, and manipulating everyone so precisely. The more he thought about it, the more he realized there had to be someone helping her. So he used his own money to hire bodyguards and began tracking her movements. After I stopped sending her money, she started visiting the hospital more frequently. It didn't take long before Ethan uncovered the truth. Vanessa's attending physician was her distant cousin. And then he found a recording. In it, Vanessa's sweet, syrupy voice could be heard clearly. "Once Ethan marries Claire, half of the Bennett family's shares will become his. Claire will be my walking ATM. Then we can use a fake surgery to stage a medical accident. She gets hurt, and I get everything. Easy, right?" Then came the kicker. Too bad Ethan got too clingy and messed up the timing. "Cousin, my family wants me to quit school. I'm counting on you now." There was a low gasp at the end of the recording. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, his hand gripping the edge of the recorder so tightly his knuckles turned white. In his mind, he replayed every moment how I was called stingy, cold, heartless, how I silently stood there while he defended Vanessa with blind loyalty. He saw my pale face again, lying in the hospital bed, drained of blood. He had nearly destroyed me with his own hands. "Enough," he whispered, his voice raw. "That liar, she's going to pay." He handed all the evidence to a lawyer and filed anonymous reports with the police and hospital authorities. Vanessa's cousin had his medical license revoked and was terminated from the hospital. The school received the full report too. Vanessa was expelled. When she opened the notice, it was like lightning struck her. She had worked so hard to escape poverty and build a life in the city, and it had all come crashing down. She called Ethan in a panic. "It was you, wasn't it? Why did you ruin me?" Silence. Then Ethan's voice came through like ice. "You nearly ruined Claire. Everything you had was because of her. I just gave a little of it back." Vanessa tried to say something, but the line went dead. She collapsed onto the floor, shaking all over, her eyes void of any life. In order to survive, she started picking up odd jobs: cashier, waitress, but the money came in too slowly. She had gotten used to my money, my lifestyle. Eventually, to keep up her spending, she started working in a nightclub. Ethan showed up again later. I had just finished work, and he was waiting for me in the parking lot. He looked tired, older, worn down. "Claire," he said quietly, "I've dealt with Vanessa. It was all her. She tricked me. She planned to hurt you all along. I was blind. She's been expelled." The hospital found out the truth. He looked at me like a kid who knew he'd messed up, waiting to be forgiven. I just stared at him and said calmly, "I know." He stepped closer. "Can you give me another chance? I didn't realize what you meant to me. I just didn't want to be seen as your lapdog, so I acted cold." But before I could reply, Daniel stepped out of the driver's seat. "That's fine," he said coolly. "If you don't want the role, I'll take it." Then he pulled out our marriage certificate and held it up with a smug grin. It's official. Legal. If you come near Claire again, I'll press charges for interfering with a military marriage. I had convinced Daniel not to retire just yet. He took a civilian role instead, so he'd have more time with me. Ethan stared at that red stamped certificate like it had drained the color from his world. I looked at his broken expression, but I felt no joy, just closure. Time passed. Daniel and I had a son, but sometimes he still looked at me with those worried eyes. Claire, he asked one night, am I really in your heart? I laughed gently. Of course. You're the father of my child. Then why did you like Ethan back then? He asked. Was it because he gave you candy? I blinked. Wait, that day when my dad yelled at me and I cried? Ethan gave me candy. I was so upset, but his smile was sweet, and I felt better. Daniel smiled, but there was something sad in his eyes. That wasn't Ethan, he said softly. That was me. I was too shy to give it to you myself, so I begged him to hand it to you. I stared at him. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought you'd laugh at me. I was so timid back then. Then he paused. But what about you? Why did you like me? I hesitated for a moment, remembering something buried deep in my memory. When my dad brought you home, you were filthy from the disaster zone, but I didn't care. I wiped your face and gave you candy. You looked up at me like I was an angel. Daniel's eyes turned red. That was the moment. Even after all these years, I never forgot it. You were always better than me at everything. I kept my distance because I didn't want you to look down on me. But the truth is, that memory, it never faded. Not even once. I called his name softly. Daniel, my voice broke. I'm lucky. I didn't make the wrong choice this time. What do you mean this time? He teased. You thinking about going back to Ethan again? I rolled my eyes.
No.
That dream I had before where Ethan let me die, and you were the one who came to save Methods, why I knew. I chose right. He pulled me into his arms. That was just a dream. I'm here now, and I'll always be here. I begged him for a long time before he handed it to me. Why didn't you say anything? I asked. Daniel lowered his head, his voice soft. I was afraid you'd laugh at me for being weak. I didn't even have the courage to give you a piece of candy myself. I stared at him. And what about you? He asked, looking up. Why did you like me? I paused, memories tugging at me. The day my dad brought you home, you had just come from the disaster zone. You were filthy, covered in dirt. But I didn't care. I helped you wipe your face, and I gave you a handful of candy. As I spoke, his eyes turned red at the corners. He looked like he was trying hard not to cry. I was stunned. All these years, I remembered so many stories about candy, but somehow, I forgot the moment I gave it to him. Back then, he said with a lopsided grin, I thought to myself, Claire Bennett is so kind. Like a little angel. His smile was clumsy, boyish. After that, you were better than me in everything. Smarter, more loved. I started avoiding you not because I didn't care, but because I was afraid. Afraid you'd dislike me, afraid you'd forget me. But even now, all these years later, I still remember that candy more than anything. Daniel, I whispered, my voice catching, it's really great to have you. I'm so lucky. I didn't make the wrong choice this time. He raised an eyebrow. This time? What? Are you saying you almost picked Ethan again? I laughed a little and wiped my eyes. You asked me that day why I chose you. But honestly, I lied. The truth is, I had a dream. In it, Ethan let me die. And only you came to save me. When I woke up, I knew you were the one. Daniel wrapped his arms around me tightly. That was just a dream, he said into my hair. This is reality. And I'm here now, always. We sat like that for a long moment, warm and still. Then I sighed. Speaking of Ethan, it's been a while since I've heard anything about him. It wasn't until a few days later that I saw the news. It was all over the television. Ethan Carter, chairman of Nien Yao Corporation, found murdered in a downtown nightclub. I didn't need anyone to tell me, knew instantly. It was Vanessa Collins. I could just feel it. Maybe she hated him for cutting her off. Maybe she was jealous that he had moved on and was doing better without her. But whatever the reason, it didn't matter to me anymore. I just wanted to be with Daniel.
That was all I needed now.